The question has to do with what to do with leftover embryos from an IVF in which they're no longer wanted by the couple. Now, those of you who have listened to our podcast, it's gotten to be almost a joke among the podcast hosts that the moment we have to talk about IVF, Bob gets on his high horse and I begin growling about why I don't like IVF. I'm gonna avoid all those. You could go to the podcast and see some of those episodes. Let's just talk about one of the issues that I have, and that is the leftover embryos. There are many couples who have gone into it with the idea that we plan to implant all of the embryos and so forth. There are all sorts of scenarios, and I've been involved with many of them, where the couple no longer is in a position to implant the remaining embryos. It could be a health issue, it could be a divorce issue, it could be the discovery that having children is a lot more work than you figured on, whatever it is, but there's leftover embryos. So how do we handle that? Because we recognize that life begins at conception. Psalm 51:5, sinful from birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me. Life already exists at conception, so we are not talking about destroying them. We're not talking about dissecting them for medical research. We are talking about really one of two options. Those are either donated for embryo adoption, or they're donated to a family member who says, I will, as a rescue, bring those children to birth. And those are both valid options. They're both essentially the same thing. They're both embryo adoption. Embryo adoption is like snowflake adoption. You go to a center that actually specializes in embryo adoption. The other option is where, a family member says, I will carry him, and so forth. Just remember, I'm not a big fan of these things, of IVF and what happens, because even cryopreserved embryos, even with embryo adoption, you have a high fatality rate for these embryos. But now it has become a rescue mission. And so you do what you can to save the lives you can. And so both of those options are valid. And you can go to our website, you can learn about embryo adoption, and you can pursue them.